Not much. How you doing? Yeah. What's the what what's the temperature down there? Cold as hell. There was frost. There was frost this morning. Frost on the ground this morning. So, yeah, I went out yesterday. I was gonna do some work on our deck. I gotta do like a section of railing that I have been neglecting. But I got started on it, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna go inside. I'm not ready for this yet. It was just the wind would just cut right through you. I was just like, gosh, I'm just not gonna deal with it quite yet. So it's supposed to get warmer this week. So like Wednesday, Thursday, I think we're supposed to be in the mid 70s or so. So we'll do it then. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. Okay, so yeah, let's just start like we always start with our verbiage here. Leaders are the ones who run headfirst into the unknown. They rush toward the danger. They put their own interests aside to protect us or to pull us into the future. Leaders would sooner sacrifice what is theirs to save what is ours, and they would never sacrifice what is ours to save what is theirs. This is what it means to be a leader. It means they choose to go first into danger, head first toward the unknown. And when they feel sure they will keep us safe, we will march behind them and work tirelessly to see their visions come to life and proudly call ourselves their followers. This is a big when you read this and you understand what we're navigating today with the big C, some of the connectors should start firing on the difference between being a leader and being a good leader and being a bad leader, and what happens when bad leadership comes into play. The big C, which is we'll talk on slide 4, is called cortisol. Cortisol is our anxiety chemical. It's the chemical that triggers the uneasiness that we feel, not the butterflies in the stomach when you're dating a pretty girl and you're going to the movies for the first time. I'm talking about real solidified danger. You literally feel like, in a situation where maybe your life's in danger. You feel that way. That's cortisol firing off. But it's also the way you feel when you're unsure that you're not going to have a job the next day, when your company is going to go down the toilet the next day. You start having those feelings, that uneasiness, that dread that you have, that, how am I going to provide for my family? How am I going to, make ends meet? How, all those questions start circling in your mind. And I think a good leader is able to navigate those issues for the people that he or she is leading. They're able to navigate those questions and build a successful business around it. I mean, let's be honest, we're talking about successful businesses and being a successful leader within those. So that is where effective leadership comes in. And that's why I think when you read that first few paragraphs there, it really should start clicking here on this chapter and then the next subsequent chapters moving forward. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I have that one. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That was you learning that in school? That's good. I mean, I don't think that there is an age one that I think that you ever stop learning leadership techniques, but I also don't think there's an age that you should limit your start either. Um, because I think a lot of what you talk about in leadership training, you can apply to real life, whether it's competition, sports, your job, or even just your home life. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, being a good parent means being a good leader. I mean, that's what it's all about in a different way, but it is. So yeah, that's good. That's great. You know, that's a good leader. I think I always say, you know, it really empowers the team, figures out what the weaknesses are, figures out what the strengths are, and uses them both to the advantage of the team. And it's the same reason why I'll go out on a limb and say that I don't ever believe the excuse that we can't find good help. You know, good help's hard to find. I will never believe that until the day I die. I mean, I just don't. I believe it's all about what you have and what you can make out of it. I'm not saying that everything is sunshine and rainbows, and I certainly know there's a fair amount of people out there that probably can't hold their weight in a paper bag and water, but it just, it, you know, it just is what it is. I mean, I think that if you build the right culture, one, I think the people will come, and two, I think the people will stay. So, and then you're on the higher end because then you're able to basically rake through the people that you don't want. But if you don't lay the groundwork for the culture, Not going to get anywhere. So, all right, I digress. So, no, it's good though. I mean, it is. It's always good to hear, examples, real world examples of leadership and leadership training. I think it's great. I'm going to digress a little bit further. I was down in Indy last week I'm taking over the chair for the foundation of the MPCA, and we had a strategic planning session, and we had it with our new president of MPCA, and this guy is like a literate genius. Like, he knows like the meanings of words, the sub meanings, the third definitions of every single word, the fourth definition of every single word, and the way that he conducted that with a group of people that were very experienced in the industry, and he's only been on the job for almost a little under a year now. The way he conducted that as a leader was just magnificent. I mean, he showed his intelligence, which was his strong card, but he didn't show it in a way that he was zealous or I'm up here and you're down here. It was just absolutely fascinating to me. It was one of the most in-depth and intense strategic planning sessions I'd ever been a part of, solely because he was there and the way that he conducted that meeting. So I wanted to bring that up because it made me think of leadership and strategy. So it was interesting. Yeah. So this thing called cortisol, the example that they use in the book right away is the group of gazelles grazing on the pasture, and all of a sudden one, kicks up, and then the entire group starts running because there's a lion on the prowl. That cortisol is that knee-jerk reaction that you have that, hey, there's danger in the bushes and I need to get out as fast as possible. So that's where they use it in nature, and that's why I say it exists in nature, it exists at home, it exists at work. I mean, God forbid you think it, maybe your wife is or your husband, your significant other is cheating on you. You're going to start having that feeling of cortisol coursing through your veins, where you're checking emails, checking phones, stuff like that. At work, you feel it with am I going to lose my job? Do I have legitimate fear there? So you start to really feel that way. And we need to understand that there's kind of safe levels of cortisol and there's unsafe levels of cortisol. And it all is basically triggered from the outside. Your outside experiences trigger the amount of cortisol that flows through your veins. Good cortisol is like, hey, there's a car falling off the bridge. It's going to hit my car. I need to stop my car. That's cortisol in a good way. It's telling you that there is a legitimate danger in front of you and I need to stop and redirect. Bad cortisol is when you have to get up every morning and go to a job that you are fearful that you're going to lose. You're fearful that the company is headed in the wrong direction. It's that feeling that, yes, my significant other is cheating on me, or my kids are failing in school, whatever it be. That's cortisol that stays with you for time and time again and causes stress, anxiety, high blood pressure, heart attacks, strokes, whatever. That's bad cortisol. So you really have to be able to navigate between the both of them. And like I said, this is not something that you readily have control over. It's an outside input coming in. So you really have to either understand what's happening around you, change it, or adapt. Many times we adapt, and that's kind of the wrong. So if you click over to slide number 5, in a work setting, when we start feeling that unhealthy amount of cortisol, it actually triggers oxytocin, which is the empathy chemical. And that's when we start feeling like, hey, we need to start getting together with other people. We need to start the rumors around the water cooler. Hey, did you hear about Bob yesterday? I heard he got fired. When's my time? I know I'm next. Bob was here 10 years longer than I was. I'm next. That's when you start that. And that's when we start really bringing in those unhealthy levels, because every day you go to work, you just know that day is going to be bad. You haven't even given that day a fair shot. You just know it's bad. And if you keep doing that from time to time to time, you're going to stress yourself out. You're going to have a nervous breakdown. You're going to have a heart attack. And that's just unnecessary. I think of, and I hate to, I'm not going to get super political here, but think about the nation that we're in right now. We as a people sit here and watch our TV, and I don't care what side of the aisle that you sit on. We sit in our living rooms and we watch TV about all this bad that's going on. We see it in the media, we see it on these commercials, and we can't help but to not be scared for something. I mean, we live in a nation of fear because of what we have done to ourselves. And we're creating unhealthy amounts of cortisol flowing through our homes. I believe that. It's really sick. I mean, it is really kind of disgusting that that's the way that things are. But that is the tactic that's being used today in our nation, is fear, creating these false senses of fear that something is wrong, something is going to happen. You know, we're divided against each other. We need to start forming our own, whatever you want to call it, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, white supremacists, whatever. You need to start getting into groups right now. We need to empower those groups. That's not the case. We're a nation of free thinkers, and we need to be that way. I'm getting off my soapbox now. Sorry, that was really long and lengthy, but that's what I thought about when I was writing these slides was, you know, I feel it, you know, you feel it all the time. You know, if it's not the economy, it's the coronavirus, it's you know, the riots, the lootings, the shootings. There's nothing good anymore. It's all fear. So ultimately, we have to really work on adapting or changing our situations if we're not happy with them. If they're causing us stress, you have to change them. There's a great quote, and I put this in the fourth point, and I wanted to write this verbatim. Working in an unhealthy, unbalanced culture is like climbing Mount Everest. You adapt. And that's so true. I walked that road many, many years of my life, and it was extremely unhealthy. Climbing Mount Everest is a journey, and you know, you start and you feel good, you feel empowered, but over time that mountain really starts kicking your ass. And you know that if you want to get to the top, you're going to have to adapt. So you're going to have to get used to being cold, uncomfortable, not eating properly. You adapt, and your life should not be like climbing Mount Everest. Mount Everest is a feat. Your life should not be a feat. You shouldn't get to the top of the mountain or the end of your life and be like, yes, I did it. You know, life's a journey, man. I mean, there's some highs, there's some lows. It's not climbing Mount Everest. It should never be that way. You should be comfortable in your own skin. I think that's the major takeaway point here is if you're not balancing that cortisol coming in, those outside factors coming in, if you're not taking control of your life, it's not gonna end well, ultimately. Not at all. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, there's a big difference. Let's be honest. Just like you know, say a catastrophic event happens at your facility, or you know, somebody steals all your trucks or something out of your yard. You know, a catastrophic event hits. It doesn't mean that you as an employee should jump ship and walk away just because you sense danger. Should you fear that something bad is going to happen? Yes, you should. There is probably going to be some replications because of it. You know, you got to recover, recoup, stuff like that. But some key indicators, literally if you go into Sunday night feeling such dread, such overpowering dread that you have to go to work on a Monday, that's a key indicator that you're in the wrong situation, that you're dying inside essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very true. So this last slide, I think, is going to really spark some debate. This is a good. This is entitled "Fire Your Children," and it was basically the intention was to basically treat your employees like they're members of your family. They used this example of this company called NextJump. NextJump was a software company that was losing employees constantly to Google, to Microsoft, so on and so forth. And they stood there and looked at themselves and realized that what they needed to do is invest more time in their people and not so much into the systems, into the processes, and they needed to invest in their people. So they enacted this policy that they would never fire anybody. So there's no fires at all. They completely took everything off the table. If you got a job here, you would have a job for the rest of your life, barring any major, you come and shoot the place up. You're probably going to get fired for that. But instead, if you were struggling, they would invest in you to learn what you needed to learn to grow yourself. Well, what they found was over time was that their turnover rate went from 40 to 50% down to 1%. So significant decrease in the amount of people that they lost because they invest in their people. Now, the topic of debate that I have is that we talk all the time about hire fast, fire slow, hire slow, fire fast. Which is the best way to go? Okay, so they are essentially saying hire, not so much hire fast, maybe hire slow, but they're also fire slow, which is contradicting to what we learned in previous books. So it really sparks kind of a healthy debate on, what is the best way to go? Do you spend more time getting the right people on the bus? Yes, I think you do. But do you fire them right away for, insubordination or, whatever, they're not working right? So it's interesting, the grounds that they came off of finding this whole entire process of really reinvesting in their people to grow and be better as people, to better the company. So it is kind of an interesting contradiction to what we've been reading about before. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Well, I think that's very true. I mean, I think it boils down to what we call that circle of safety. I mean, you have to enhance that circle of safety. Um, I think there's good examples there. I mean, if you hire somebody and they just in your training and they're just not retaining it, then yeah, they're probably not the right person on the bus. But if you hire somebody and they're performing well, in general they're performing, maybe they're just missing the target just a little bit, or maybe some deadlines are getting pushed a little bit. Maybe that's not quite the right reason to fire somebody, because maybe there's more to the story than what you see. And so I think it goes back to being an effective leader and being real with people and helping people understand what your expectations are of them, and helping them push through some of the trials and tribulations that they may have, in order to help them grow and in order to help the company grow, rather than just sitting back and saying, okay, I'm hiring you to be a salesman. I expect you to work Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota, and I expect you to bring in $8 million by the end of the year. I don't care how you do it, just go ahead and do it. Okay, that's not really doing much. That's not really helping the employee thrive. That's not helping your company thrive. That's just setting a benchmark that you want to get to with no roadmap on how to get there. So I think there's some truth to everything that we've been saying. Getting the right people on the bus, hiring slow, firing fast, enhancing the circle of safety, investing in your people. I think those are great founding principles that you can probably take to the bank. If you're doing those things, then you probably have developed that culture that we keep talking about, to really thrive and grow in whatever business you're doing. So, it might be one of those things you might want to write down, those 4 points right there. And I'll say them again. Hire slow, fire fast, enhance the circle of safety, get the right people on the bus. And what was my last one? Invest in your people. So, and like I said, that all goes back to just creating that culture. That's all. That's the name of the game, creating that culture. It's different wherever you go, but you got to figure it out. So, So next week we're going to be in chapter 8, and it talks about why we have leaders, and it kind of plays off of really everything that we talked about with EDSO, with the big C, and how good leaders can effectively use those to enhance the circle of safety, to grow people, why leaders do things the way that they do. So it's one of my favorite chapters. It's a really good chapter. It'll really help start to put some of these puzzle pieces together. Yep, I'm good. Yeah, we're our new epicenter. You're probably safer in Texas than I am here in Wisconsin. So I am too. It's not. We're not doing good by any means at all. I don't know what the problem is, but you travel safe and get home safe. I'll put it that way. See ya.